The purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by our respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised.
All right. So, Meech, the aftershocks of this Valentine's Day podcast have not ended yet.
Are you serious?
No, I just had a friend that listened to it. And let me tell you, all the women are texting me like I'm the one that said what the Meech from Earth 42 said about the injure yourself thing to get out the friend zone. But one question they did have is, what is the most controversial ship that you have?
The most controversial ship?
Yeah.
As in two people who got together and I absolutely hate it.
No, I think it's from the perspective of two people that you want to be together, but it's controversial.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Because I got a good one. So.
Oh, I do too.
All right.
You off the dome. All the Deku and Bakugo shippers, all of y'all need to get on somewhere. All of y'all, because there ain't no way that's ever happening in this lifetime. I'm pretty sure there's like one Earth, one multiverse out there where it does happen, but that's the anomaly. That's not part of the sacred timeline.
I mean, it's probably the dark web.
It's probably on the dark multiverse. What you mean? But all I have to say is that ship definitely. All y'all need to stop. That ship needs to go. All the Goku and Vegeta shippers, that needs to go. All of the Naruto and Sasuke shippers, that gotta go.
All right, is there one that you have that you want to happen, but it's controversial?
Okay. Oh, one that that's a deep one. That's a deep one.
After you alienated one side of the fan base.
Look, I just call it, hey, a spade is a spade, am I right? Man, I actually gotta think a little bit on this one. What you got? What's your controversial?
All right, so mine is from Darling in the Franxx, an anime that, why are you looking at me like that? That would leave. So I think that Hiro, that's how they say it in the show, should have ended up with Ichigo. And if they would have done that relationship from the start, instead of him going with 02 later in the show, I think it would have been a much cleaner show in writing, because the way they built it built up to 02, but then after the episode in which they had the reveal of the backstory, the writing of the show just went left in so many ways. But I think if they would have kept it with Hiro and Ichigo, it would have been a much cleaner story, and they could have told it in a better way instead of making 02 a spaceship. So
dang. And honestly, this one, it should have came up into my mind first when you mentioned that, but the fact that I just now remembered Ray and Finn sequel trilogy, and the reason why. My boy Finn, he needed a dub, all right? He needs a dub after the trash that he been put through. The fact that this man, literally the first film basically built up to it, only for the 8th movie to say, nah.
Side mission.
Only for the side mission that did not even need to happen. And then on top of that, episode 9, it seemed like it was building up to it as well, at least on Finn's side. And then we know how the rest of that movie turned out. But Finn and Ray definitely should have happened. It needed to happen. That's my favorite ship. It's not just because it's a brother, but because of the fact that it was built up, and not the fact that Finn is me. And you know what? I'm just gonna keep it at that.
We're gonna leave it there, my brother.
We're just gonna leave it there before I cause some more catastrophe.
All right. So I'm Demetrius.
And I'm Demetrius.
And Meech presents
Blurred City Podcast.
All right. So originally, the entire month of March or entire month of April, we're gonna be total movie monster madness. We're gonna have a review of Godzilla -1, which is an incredible movie. We're gonna have a tournament of the best monsters, the review of the Godzilla Kong movie, but they moved it up 2 weeks, so we kind of had to adjust all the same with that. So what we're gonna be doing in this episode is we're gonna break down the Monsterverse, not just the American legendary, but also the Toho universe and kind of how we got to this point, including another American unfortunately have to touch on. But we're gonna touch on that and then also other aspects of Godzilla and movie monsters and kaijus and mechas, because that's kind of just like our field of what we really love. So yeah, so with that, we can move ahead. We're gonna get into our Monsterverse discussion. So with that, let's lock in. So kind of just with that, obviously the owner of Godzilla is Toho, two studios in Japan. So they've been going since 1954 till today. So there are four distinct eras in Godzilla. There's some mini ones as well and kind of like side projects. And then there's also the Monsterverse, which is outside of it. But for Toho, it's mainly four. So starting with the Showa Era, that's like the 1954 to 1975. And then again, with the first ever Godzilla movie, it's not what we see it as it is today, if you kind of want to touch on that.
Oh boy, yeah. So as I said, like this started in 1954 all the way up today, and it's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest running franchise of all time. So that just lets you know just what we working with here. And yeah, 1954, the original Godzilla film, it kicked it off, and before you guys all think about it, technically, the first Godzilla movie is a horror movie. It is a horror movie because of the fact that it's playing off the fear of, or like the fear of US of A dropping another atomic bomb straight on Japan after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and this was a colossal film. As I said, this was a way for them to air out their grievances, air out their fears, and pretty much take that appearance of like an atomic bomb and translate it into the character of Godzilla. And from there, as we mentioned, the rest was history. Like this movie was groundbreaking. Like it was huge for Japan. Like I'm pretty sure I can't like get stats up on it right now, but I'm pretty sure like there was people who really were impacted by it to the point where like they probably couldn't watch the movie as many horror movies would be. And just the fact like this is probably like one of the few movies that I know, at least me personally, like my family knows Godzilla. They know it because of the fact like it got translated over here with with the crappy dub overs.
Yeah.
As you know, with the lip syncing is absolutely not there at all. They just saying whatever, and then
they got that Madam Web lip sync.
I'm still not seeing that movie, so I don't know what you're referencing. So, but if that happened, then I'm not surprised. But but yeah, like it was definitely like a groundbreaking film. It was, of course, released worldwide. The design of Godzilla is definitely a strong one because he's a giant dinosaur, lizard, atomic.
And then that one
being a mass destruction.
He's very limited in how much they show him, right?
Yes, because again, like times the times, and then the fact that the suit did not look as well. In hindsight, it doesn't look good now, but I'm pretty sure it looked great back then.
That's fair.
And again, like of course, it goes along with the theme of less is more.
True.
But yeah, so like, but again, like at this time, Godzilla was a prime monster. Like he is not like the person you think of today where like, oh yeah, he's out to save the earth, or he just out here doing his own thing. Nah, this one, he's just out here killing.
Yeah, absolutely.
He out here catching bodies and just doing whatever he wants. And when it comes to that, like this era, the Showa era, that's like around time, like, cause like with the advent of success, you're gonna get sequels and you're gonna get knockoffs. So
yeah,
hey, if they ain't us, I mean, if you can't be us, you're gonna try to be. If you want to like talk more about the spread of Godzilla.
Well, yeah, with that also, I kind of just want to mention that around this time, well, before this time also, King Kong, from what I researched, came out in 1933. So that was kind of like one of the OG monster movies and had the same critical success as Godzilla. But then from after there were, I believe the Showa era has 30, not 33 total Godzillas, but it's like double digits, and that's kind of where it's like multiple Godzilla movies. Then from there they create their that's when he starts to kind of transition from the horror allegory for the nuclear threat to the hero Godzilla that we kind of know today. Staying in this general vein of it, this is where we start to see the introduction of Arodon, Mothra, I believe. Another one's called Varan that joins into the story. We also had the Godzilla King Kong first kind of meeting between them. And I believe also in this era, Ghidorah is introduced. I know there's a few others that get introduced in later eras.
Oh yeah, it's like actually the King Ghidorah one is actually a major milestone for the Showa era because it's when he's introduced, that's when Godzilla's image starts changing to be more heroic rather than just be a force of nature or just a being of utter destruction. Because it's like, oh no, that's my op. We gotta go handle him. And as the time goes on, like there's more characters that get introduced, but another major one that gets introduced is Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
You want to touch up on the? No, I'm just gonna touch up on that man right now because Mecha Godzilla is woo. He one of them ones. All right. This is where the mechs start coming in. So when it comes to Godzilla, it's not only just like a kaiju like franchise, it's also a tokusatsu franchise. For those who don't know, kaiju just means monster, so obviously, but tokusatsu, that's just basically the type of, it's just a type of filming technique, but in essence, it's basically you get giant robots fighting giant monsters and all of that, and you may recognize that from probably the second most famous tokusatsu franchise of all time, behind Godzilla, Super Sentai, which leads, well, Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, which leads into Power Rangers. Boom, there you go. So yeah, tokusatsu is basically started by Godzilla and led to the superheroes, you know, to the spandex wearing, color coordinated robot wielding, monster fighting teenagers with attitude that you know today.
Yeah. Which we'll get into a bit later, just kind of like the evolution of it since we're covering almost all monsters / mechas. But going from there, the last film of this era was Terra of Mecha Godzilla. And then that was in 1975. Box office was a failure. So like with 15 movies in, they decided to put it on a bit of a hiatus. So it was about a 9 to 10 year hiatus. And then that's when we get into the Heisi era, which is 84-95. Again, they start off with him as more of a monster in the return of the Godzilla, but then from there, he is more of the Godzilla that we know today.
Yep, absolutely. Like, I believe this era is marketed wholly about like how it's much more darker. But then again, what wasn't dark in the 80s and 90s, or early 90s? But when it comes to that, like, again, Godzilla, like, he pretty much is a beast. He's a straight up monster. Like, the Return of Godzilla was essentially a wholesale reboot of Godzilla as a brand. And you start getting, like, more monsters that got introduced, like Biollante or, what was it?
Space Godzilla?
Yeah, Space Godzilla, which I'm just like, ooh. Like, at this point, you should start getting just monsters just out the wazoo. Like, you have no...
Was this one also Destroyer, or was he introduced in the previous era?
Okay, so its origins took place in the Showa era, but he really didn't get his debut to like the Millenium Era.
Okay.
It's like right after this one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Destroyer. So yeah, like this was just an era, like kind of like a midpoint where you're just trying to get where you're trying to like get his, kind of like Godzilla getting his groove back, you know what I'm saying? Like he trying to get back in form, he trying to get back to true darkness, if you will, and be that menace, be that dog that we thought he was, and he definitely does. But yeah, that is basically the Heisei era. What also happens is interesting because what happens after that, if you want to get into that.
Yeah, so with that kind of like what I mentioned with Destroyer, that's the movie I believe where Godzilla ends up getting killed by him, and Destroyer also like kills his son at some point in that. But at this point,
Like that was like
yeah, it was like the very last movie before kicking off the Millennium. So then America is like, hey, let's give us a try. And the company that we love, when it adopts intellectual property, Sony, tried their hand at Godzilla. They were trying to aim for a trilogy, and I don't know how much Meech that you researched the Sony aspect of it, but the second part of it, the second sequel and the villain name that they were aiming for was wild. But
oh no, I didn't want to touch anything from that film. I did not do any research on that topic.
wild. But so
How wild we talking?
I'm gonna edit that out. But so the villain was supposed to be a spider, I believe, and the name was going to be.
Hey, no.
I promise you that's what it was.
No. I'm looking that up right now. Hold up.
Promise you that's the research that I did. And they canceled it.
No, they did not.
All right, so I just told Meech about Godzilla 2 offline because I couldn't say certain details on it. I have traumatized them, but just to kind of recap it, Sony had the rights to it, so it was like the Godzilla film, the first one. This is where he looks more of like a dinosaur, kind of like a T-Rex with scales or whatnot and dorsal plates. So it was financially successful, but the reviews of it weren't loved. It wasn't beloved by the audience. Even Toho was like, and this kind of ties in later to the Millennium, which was from 1999 to 2004, where that Godzilla was like they hated that interpretation of it, that they just named it Zilla, because they said the movie took the God out of the character. And so with that,
Godzilla and everything but name.
yes, exactly. So with that,
wait,
they had
in name only. Godzilla in name only.
exactly. So with that, they had a few films in that ultimately ending with Godzilla Final Wars. So that was kind of just like a send off to it. That would have been like the 50-year anniversary at the time.
Mhm.
Again, that movie in Japan wasn't as successful, so they decided to, hey, we're gonna put it on another 10-year hiatus. Again, Godzilla is such a big property that, obviously on the different like channels growing up, that's how I used to watch it. But and then also there's other offshoots with that. But ultimately it comes back in 2014 with the Monsterverse, which is kind of what leads into the next 2 weeks for what we're getting ready for on the podcast. So Monsterverse comes back 2014, and I actually like the take of it. We talk about kind of just with the different, how they complicate it sometimes with Godzilla, but I feel like in this one, even though he is a savior in a sense from the way the trailer is framed it, and then even just kind of like leading into the rest of how we got here, now it does make him like, this dude is a problem. We need to figure out how to stop him if necessary.
All right. So yeah, just going in. Well, first of all, we not just gonna skip over the fact that in the Millennium Era we got probably the best version of Mechagodzilla out there with the Kiryu. We just not gonna skirt past probably my literal favorite version of Mechagodzilla, because that one was literally built around the skeleton of the OG Godzilla who died after the first movie, and it just goes on a rampage when it possesses the thing, which is actually kind of ironic because we're gonna see that again later.
Yes.
And then we also got to talk about perhaps one of the most evil versions of Godzilla ever, called the GMK Godzilla, or the Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah from that movie, because that one had a completely different origin where Godzilla like was the souls of everybody who died in World War II.
Ooh, dang.
And no, everyone who died due to the bomb in World War II all fused together and it became Godzilla. So that thing was the most malicious. Like, and like typically when you see Godzilla, you see like his eyes, and it's like, like normal eyes even have like slits and everything. These were just blank. blank white.
And that's the all-out attack movie?
Yes. Like
Okay.
that one literally he just actually physically, like, because that version of Godzilla was actually the antagonist of the movie. He was not the protagonist at all. And I actually kind of rocked with it because he was out here murking folks. He's like, oh, you were involved? You died. Oh, oh, I know you. I remember you. Die. Oh, I remember this entire sect of people. Get atomic breath.
Yeah.
They even had to get King Ghidorah. And you know how much of a problem King Ghidorah is.
Mm-hmm.
And all the humans needed him to help against Godzilla. And it didn't work. It didn't work. So yeah, I had to give props to at least that version of Mechagodzilla and that version of Godzilla, because that was perhaps like my favorite incarnations of it when I saw it at the time.
That's definitely fair.
Yeah, but getting into some legendary Godzilla action, completely pun fully intended. Because as you mentioned, that version of Godzilla, the American Godzilla after the pure travesty, that was the 1998 version. We're never going to talk about that again. He decided to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to be a problem. I'm going to be him. And by him, I mean, I'm coming at everybody's souls.
And it's actually interesting, since Legendary, I believe, also did Pacific Rim. They had a test run with it in 2013. That's when Pacific Rim dropped. And I know there are like rumors that it could potentially cross over. I think that idea is done. It's still maybe possible because of the Under Earth or whatever, but timelines would be too wonky to try to do it at this point. But yeah, it was just like so cool. And like the trailer where it's like the dude was in the he was diving, and you just see him go into the darkness, and you see the shadow of Godzilla, and you were like, dude, Godzilla is humongous. And again, like this is like the first American Godzilla in about almost 20 years or so, and to like really make him scary again. So even in seeing him just like destroy the Mutos was one of the best experiences.
I was like, you're the only problem with that version of the movie is just that we did not get to see enough Godzilla.
I think it kind of went back to that 1954 version to an extent where it was just like, hey, we're not going to show him a lot, possibly. I know like they took out our boy Bryan Cranston in the first 5 minutes, but so yeah, just even going with that, we can kind of transition into just not just Godzilla, but Kong. You know, I already mentioned that Kong was made in 1933, the first one. Then in 1962, he technically beat Godzilla. And then later on, so there have been different incarnations of Kong. What's so interesting about the evolution of King Kong is that most of the time with his story, it's always he goes up on the building and it's wraps for him.
Yep.
But now they've given him the opportunity to grow, progress, be a savior of humanity. And I was gonna say stand toe to toe with Godzilla, but
No.
can I say this? Because people be defending Kong. Godzilla literally killed Kong. He literally killed him.
Multiple
Stomped him out. Yeah.
Multiple times in that movie.
He stomped him out and stopped his heart. Now, in fairness, that first fight was not fair. Kong was on a boat and he was in chains.
So, hey, actually, speaking of, can we talk about that? How you just gonna have a giant monkey in chains? But
breathing with the captain of the ship.
Man, get him out of here. And then just the fact, like, you know, Godzilla, he was on timing that entire movie. Entire movie was on timing.
Absolutely, because of what you mentioned with do we want to talk about King of the Monsters first, or
We gotta talk. We have to do King of the Monsters first, because that's kind of important for Godzilla and for us as fans, because in fact that's the one where, you know, Mothra gets introduced into the like Rodon comes in, gets completely stomped out by
everybody.
By literally, he was the punching bag of the group, which then gets inherited by King Kong later. But then we get like true Queen Mothra,
True, man, and we get overheated Godzilla.
burning Godzilla out here completing all types of sins out
He
here.
destroyed Boston.
Yep, destroyed everything. But then we get Mecha, no, not Mecha King Ghidorah. We just get King Ghidorah, and Kevin. Because of the fact and if in case you don't know, King Ghidorah has 3 heads. Each of them have different personalities. Two of the heads are locked in the entire movie. One of them absolutely was not, and that one's Kevin. And ironically, right after Godzilla decided to pull a final explosion and murk King Ghidorah, there was a piece of King Ghidorah left, and humans be humaning in this franchise. That's probably the craziest line I can say, and it's 100% accurate. Humans be humaning, and they end up creating a Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah,
that gets controlled by the severed head of King Ghidorah, and who was that head? None other than Kevin.
He wanted revenge. So yeah, just also in the Monsterverse from Legendary, what's important in almost every movie, kind of like a subtext, is Monarch. So again, give or take what you feel about humans in these monster movies, I feel there's only like one movie that we'll get to later where I feel like it added to the movie, but I feel like Monarch, it moves the story along. Obviously, you can't have like 100 minutes of just monster fighting. I would be down for it. Yeah, I would totally be down for it, but just framing and stuff and connections with I'm with you, Misha, but so moves it along. And then also you have the Monarch TV series, but essentially it's this group that has been studying kaiju. No, they call it Titans. That's been studying Titans for about 80 years or so in the context of the show. So they just kind of like are everywhere connecting pieces, and it's going to be really important how they tie into the connection between Kong and then also Godzilla. So that's just something that's like important to make note of with it. So yeah, King of the Monsters, good fighting. And then so with this new movie that's coming up, we have the new Empire. So we're going to see another team up, and I'm so excited for that. But transitioning back to Toho, I will give you the honors for the first Godzilla movie we're going to talk about, and then we can transition to the next one. So then Godzilla.
Ooh, oh man, nah. See, at this point, the Reiwa era is here, and Toho decided to cook in absolutely horrific fashion. Because of the fact that at this point they were doing kind of this thing where they decided to make like a couple of Shin properties, where in the tokusatsu and anime sphere, there's like three different like Shin movies. Shin Kamen Rider, the Shin Evangelion movies. Well, it was called Shin Evangelion. It was basically called Rebuild of Evangelion here.
Okay.
And then finally, the last one on this list, the absolute demon that is Shin Godzilla. Oh, Lord, that movie is different because so this version of Godzilla, this incarnation, because it's a complete reboot, right? This one is more or less it starts off as kind of like a mini fish thing, and it just keeps evolving.
Yep.
It basically is a giant like evolution machine. It can't die, and it's just going around like just causing mass destruction because of the fact that it's an abomination. It is in pain the entire movie. Like even its scream is a scream of pain, not just roar of triumph, none of that. And it looks horrifying because of the fact like it's like it looks like what a burn victim from an atomic bomb would look like.
Yeah, that whatever the second form was, where before it like could stand up, is like terrifying to look at.
Oh yeah, and let me guess, it's because of them eyes.
Yes,
them eyes be like, hey yo, hey wait, why are you staring into my soul? Can you just not? But also another thing that is pretty interesting about this version of Godzilla is that it keeps evolving. Like, of course, it evolves into the Godzilla, stands on hind legs, got scrawny arms that the legendary Godzilla does not have. He a beefy boy, but this version, like, and when it does its atomic breath, it splits its jaw open, shoots out a vial of just radiation that condenses into a beam. Hey, who's surviving that? Who? Exactly.
Is that even the worst part of the beam?
No, it is not. Because it keeps going throughout like its tail. And at the end of that movie, right, the Shin Godzilla gets frozen, but like at the end, you look at its tail and you see it's starting to split off because it was evolving to like, okay, to like pretty much counteract whatever threat it's going against. It sees that the threat is humanity, so it was about to split off into like humanoid forms to keep going. If we ever got a sequel to that Shin Godzilla movie, it would have been up for all of humanity. I would have been here for it. If you couldn't guess by our reaction, it is a huge success. Like this version of Shin Godzilla, pretty much everybody loved it, not just in America, but especially in Japan. And it was the highest grossing Godzilla movie until...
Oh, Godzilla -1. All right, so with this, people, you have to understand. So just like the deal with Legendary and Toho, it's that neither of them can release movies in the same year. So fortunately for everyone, Godzilla -1 dropped last year in December. And I kid you not, this is our legit reaction in the movie theater. So I see Meech walking up, and I'm thinking this movie is going to be like Shin Godzilla. I walk up to him, I'm like, "You ready for Godzilla to destroy Japan again?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then the movie plays, and it's just like, it's so emotional. It's so like as grounded as it possibly can be in a Godzilla movie. You actually feel. This was the first ever time where I felt like I was rooting for the humans in a Godzilla movie, and it's just like the storytelling of it. This movie actually won an Oscar, and it's the first Godzilla movie to ever win an Oscar. And just like, man, just take over, because like this Godzilla, like it's kind of similar where he evolves to an extent, but like we open up with just like him being a normal dinosaur, then he gets nuked, and then it's like, okay, the revenge of Godzilla. And the one thing about this one that it's kind of different than most Godzillas we know. So, like, obviously, you were watching the Legendary one. This one can regenerate. And the first time he regenerates in the movie, the entire crowd was terror. You could hear the moans of terror.
Yep. It was a spectacular sight because, like, you think, like, okay, they're going to throw some bombs in his mouth. We're going to blow it up. Like, all right, cool. He damn it. He going to have, like, a broken jaw for the rest of the film, and then it regenerates itself. And you're just like, oh,
that's the legit reaction in the theater.
We were absolutely in despair. And they're like, how?
I don't know what the moment is for you that's like the most like, because that was like, wow, what is happening? How do they stop this? But the moment for me was when he actually got inside the city. And he was like, he was destroying everything, right? And then I think the cannons came and they were kind of slowing him down. And then you just see the way he did his atomic breath. It was like the second or third time he did it in the movie, but this one was different. But it was like the tails, it started to change blue and they kept lifting up. And then it got to his back and it sped up and he like fired it. And then it just like, boom.
Yeah, and the sound cinematics for that was just stunning because it was just silence. It was just like silence, and you just hear it powering up, like boom. He shoots. No. It was silent when he shoots it, and then you see nothing, and then you hear the explosion. You're just like, whoa.
Because most of the time it's like it's almost like he's doing like a fire breath. Most of the time it feels like it. This one was more of like a nuclear explosion, whereas like there was also the kickback of the explosion, and everything was quiet in the city after that. So that is just like that's how you, yeah.
When it took out baby girl.
Oh my gosh, dude. So like even the success of this movie, like it released in America, it was supposed to be out for like a week or two, like max in the US. And it was so popular and so successful, and everyone kept going to see it. Great word of mouth that it stayed for like 2 months almost. And then it even got a re-release in black and white.
Yes, sir.
So yeah.
I had to watch it in black and white because it's like, oh nah, see this. I felt like something was a little bit missing, a little bit off in this movie, and then like black and white, I'm like, yep, that was it. That was what I needed.
So yeah, with that one, we can kind of touch on the bigger thing, but Godzilla being that allegory, especially with in -1 and then in the first one, it's taking place close enough to World War II happening where everyone in the movie is playing off of just like the fear of that happening again. And then also particularly in -1 where it's like, losing the war and the feeling of defeat. And it's like, hey, if we can do one thing and sacrifice our lives for that, let's do it for taking out Godzilla. But then the lesson that you take from the movie is to live is the greatest thing you can do. And
Nah, you cooked. He cooked.
so yeah, but what I really love about Godzilla and just like calling it that is that you can take a monster and you present him as a terror, but then on the right side, the barbarians and us, we just want to see monsters fight. So yeah.
Yeah, that definitely. And I think like another thing about Godzilla that I really love again, besides the whole it's a monster causing mass destruction, is just the fact that technically, right, it's supposed to be just a blank slate, and you can like you can imprint whatever you want upon it. Like I said, Japan imprinted just World War II. But for America, we didn't have World War II to deal with. Well, we didn't have to deal with getting nuked, at least in the same way. But when it comes to us, like we can impart something different upon it. Like for us, we can, at least for me personally, when I just saw Godzilla, I just see this. It's just destruction. Like it's just a force of nature. You can't stop it. You can only delay it, or you can only like temporarily halt it, but it's gonna come back, and when it does, it's up for you.
And that's what I like about the Monsterverse is that the personality of Godzilla, like in the Toho series, when he actually starts becoming more heroic and doing the dancing and all that kind of cheesiness of it, but
Tail kick,
yes, and the drop kick and everything. Like he's obviously like a hero, but in this one with the Monsterverse, he is like, I'm gonna take out a Titan, but if you humans keep shooting me, I'm gonna take you out too. So y'all better chill. That's what I liked about it.
yes, he took nothing from nobody, and now that we get into Godzilla and King Kong, my boy done finally leveled up. He gone rose.
Yes.
He went from Super Saiyan Blue to Super Saiyan Rose, and I'm just here. You know what? Let's go, my boy.
So I'm looking forward to that when that movie drops. So miscellaneous, just other side things that kind of monsters and kaijus and mechas in general. Pacific Rim and then Pacific Rim 2 Uprising. Those are just like both two things where it's like, just keep it simple, man. I just want to see robots fight monsters. Another kind of in the Toho verse is Ultraman. I can't remember if Jet Jaguar is Toho or not.
It is.
Okay, yeah. So just kind of like humans in the suit and then being able to fight as well is similar in that vein.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, as I mentioned, just keeping it simple. Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Come on. I like even the 2017 movie with its faults, still technically monster movie. Yeah, sure, you gotta deal with the fact that you dealing with humans most of the time on the ground before you ever get to giant robot, but still, like you seeing something giant and it's definitely kicking everybody in the rear. But yeah.
All right. So with that, we are going to get into our next segment, which is a monster-sized make your case. All right, so love these. We have not done this in a while. So just like getting able to talk about the monsters and different things. So in this, to new listeners with the Make Your Case, essentially it's that ask a question, both of us, have our answer, and then we make our case on why we chose that answer. So first one, outside of Godzilla and Kong, strictly in the Monsterverse, What is the best good guy monster slash robot?
So I can't choose Shin, right? Man, that's a good one. That's a good one. See, for me personally, I have to go with baby girl Mothra because she's a day one. She ride or die.
Mhm.
Only time she wasn't rocking with Godzilla was when it was GMK, and that one was an absolute monstrosity. So I understand.
Mhm.
Other than that, like I believe Mothra is probably one of the few monsters or few kaiju that actually rocks with humanity. Like actually like rolls with them. Like it just
Yeah.
like you just it's like, oh yeah, these humans, they cool. They cool
Well,
people. So yeah, I have to go with Mothra. And again, she a ride or die and she rolls with Godzilla. When the two lock in, it's up.
yeah. So I kind of have to roll with. I have to roll with Mothra. That's kind of like the only real answer with that. But outside of, so a question that I have, since I said good guy, monster slash robot, does Transformers technically count?
I mean, they are technically robots and they can get huge and they are sentient. I mean, they're technically aliens.
Outside of a monster verse, I feel like they're like one of the best mechas to like, also the personalities, the fighting styles, their own history. Optimus Prime with dog like most mechas. So I have to go with, if that counts, I have to go with the Transformers.
Yeah, actually, high key, I might actually roll with them because, like, dang, that you actually bring a great point. And if you think about it, one of the biggest ops, Unicron,
Ooh, yeah.
world destroying kaiju.
Yes. So this one, there is a number one answer, but I think we're going to diverge on it. So who is Godzilla's, I'm not saying best, most dangerous villain?
Ah, dang.
Because if it was best, I feel like we were both going to say the same one.
Yeah,
Who is his most dangerous villain?
dang, that's a good one. Sheesh, because that one, it literally goes one of two ways. And for me, I think it might be just no, 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 no. His most dangerous villain? You said villain, right?
Yeah.
Humans. It's the humans every time. It's the humans every time.
The humans stop him every time.
It's the humans every time. Ah, but tell me I'm wrong.
That's a tough one.
Tell me I'm wrong if it's not humans. But if we're counting like just if we're excluding the humans out of this,
Yeah.
I'm like leaning towards Destroyer.
See, that's the thing. I was leaning towards Destroyer too, because I thought you would go Ghidorah. That's why I didn't say best. I said most dangerous.
Oh yeah, no. If we're talking best, actually it might be Mecha, but it goes Mecha, Ghidorah, and then everybody else. But in terms of danger, it goes Destroyer, potentially Ghidorah. Mecha's like right
It
like
depends
that.
if it's a stable god mecha or not.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Kiryu, and it goes Destroyer, Kiryu, Ghidorah, everybody else.
Yeah, because like Destroyer literally killed Godzilla and his son. So yeah, he's one of the few kaiju that actually like take him out completely.
He's one of the only. And again, he was birthed from the Oxygen Destroyer that killed Godzilla originally. Nah.
Yeah. All right. So for the next one, if you could have one power from a monster, what would it be?
You know which one I'm picking. You know which one I have to pick. I have to cause mass amounts of destruction in one single blast. I don't care if it has to come out of my mouth or come out of my butt, but that atomic blast gotta hit.
No, this isn't going to be my answer, but I feel like that Ghidorah electric blast is insane as well.
Yeah, you're right on that. But actually, hold on. If we're doing that,
It depends on which atomic blast you want, though.
yeah, because I'm trying to remember which one's the most destructive.
Because I know like the amount of like electricity that Ghidorah's blast uses like insane. But then also if you think about Godzilla, he's literally a walking nuke. So
And if atomic breath is off the table, give me the burning mode.
for me, I'm taking Mothra's regenerative powers.
So you're going more defensive, and I have to go offensive, of course.
It's like regeneration, and then just like being, a different version of yourself each time, so that way you can accumulate power, knowledge, and wealth.
Mm.
I'm thinking practicality in my real everyday day-to-day life.
And I'm just here to get rid of all my ops. Let's go.
All right.
And everybody around me.
All right. So for this one, you actually have to step into it. But what is the best mecha kaiju fighting suit?
Kiryu. Give me Kiryu. Every single time, give me Kiryu. All right? Because here are the reasons. Here's reason number 1. It's Kiryu. Reason number 2, it has a bunch of knife utilities. It has a absolute zero cannon on its chest to freeze whatever it has in sight. Number 3, every time it fights Godzilla, it wins.
Okay.
Like the only time it loses, quote unquote, loses. Here's the reason why it quote unquote loses. It runs out of power.
Yeah.
Or OG Godzilla takes control and just decides to say, I ain't gonna take out one of my own. I'm doing my own thing.
I had to look up the Kiryu Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Exactly. And you know what's even funnier? Death Battle, for all the times I hate Death Battle for a lot of things, they get this one right. They had Kiryu Mecha Godzilla fight the Dragon Zord.
Okay.
And by fight, I mean massacre it. It literally just kept going, mink, 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 mink. Nothing could stand up against Kiryu. I just like to say again, Kiryu can box with King Ghidorah. It can box with Space Godzilla. It can box with Mecha Kevin. Nah, give me Kiryu every day.
I was going to make the case for that because I personally would like to be in the Megazord, but I have to the case for Kiryu. Mecha Godzilla, I don't think so.
Nah, and plus, if me and the spirit of Godzilla inside Kiryu get along well, like Kurama and Naruto,
oh Lord, trap.
It's up. I was just like, hey Kiryu, hey Godzilla, run his pockets for me. I'm going to get lunch. Just don't blow up this shawarma shop like right here. I heard they have good shawarma in New York.
All right, for the next question, what is the best Godzilla film of any era?
Dang.
For me, it has to be -1. There's an argument for the first one just because of, groundbreaking nature of it. Like, without the first one, there is literally no Monsterverse, and like 30, 40 films worth of just like kaijus and all of that. And then just like the first allegory. But I feel like with -1, the way they were able to do the special effects, which is the reason they won the Oscar for this year, but the way they were able to do it kind of just like, again, being able to connect with the humans, which is what the Monsterverse really is not great at. But just like the emotional aspect of it, and then the representation of Godzilla is similar to the first one, but then also he's even more of a menace in my personal opinion, because like even like at the start of that movie, he was on demon time before he became Godzilla. So that's why I have to say Godzilla -1.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things like I could pick for number 1, could do Shin Godzilla. I could pick the original Godzilla versus Kong because that was kind of like one of the first ever crossovers. I could pick the new Godzilla versus Kong because that one was just a straight stomp for my boy. But yeah, in light of all the things you've said, plus the idea that there has never been a single like kaiju film where I cared about the humans until this one, I have to go with a -1 only because of the fact that it got me emotionally.
Yeah, definitely. So, for the final question, well, it's not really even to make your cases. It's like what you would like to see. What would you like to see, or what would you pitch next?
Okay, so this one, okay, so I have two. All right, so the first one has to be kind of like an all-out brawl with all the monsters. In fact, if you can even go a step further, let's bring Zilla back in here. Let's bring Zilla back.
Is he gonna have Sony painted across his forehead
Zilla, trademarked by Sony.
and get washed? No, he
Absolutely.
can get washed by Kong.
Yes. Actually, hold on. You might be cooking. GKZ. Godzilla versus Kong versus Godzilla and Kong versus Zilla.
And literally a versus.
Nah, because literally all you just see is Godzilla just chilling out in the back, trying to like just doing whatever it wants. Maybe no, it's just hanging out with Mothra. Somehow Mothra comes back. You just see him just like chilling, like hanging out with her, and then you just look over, you just see Monkey just bam, 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 bam.
He would be like the OG King Kong movie where he ripped the T-Rex mouth open.
Yep, literally that. But the other one, all right, I do not know if you know this, but there is a comic out that literally just finished up.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Justice League
Yeah.
versus Godzilla versus Kong. And in case you guys do not know, in it, Godzilla wrecked the Justice League.
Wash.
He actually killed Superman. Like, it's not even a wash. He murked him, put him on a t-shirt in a pack. And then in the last issue, Kong gets a Green Lantern ring.
I saw that, yeah.
I was like, oh, Lord.
You fainted.
I need this. We need an adaptation of this. Imagine the legendary Godzilla fighting Henry Cavill, getting washed.
Henry Cavill, I'm sorry.
I know it's not going to be Henry Cavill, but let me cook. Let me cook, dang it. But you're going to fight Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill gets washed. Then they got to bring in whoever from the James Gunn verse over. He gets washed. And then Kong has to like come in and be like, whoa, chill out. This man is just, you murking too many Supermen out here.
Mm-hmm.
Has to get a Green Lantern ring to like knock some sense into Godzilla. Like, hey, wake up. And then Godzilla gets a red ring of rage. Oh, nah, it's wrapped.
Oh, Lord, that'll destroy the world.
Exactly. But yeah, that's what I want.
For me, what I would like to see, it's almost similar to your first one. I thought you were going to take it at first, but remember America's Deadliest Warrior?
Yep.
And then along with Death Battle, I think it would be really cool if that Max, because I believe they own Legendary, Warner Brothers and Max, if they had like a TV show, maybe like 6 to 10 episodes that was along the vein of not American, but Deadliest Warrior, where it's just kind of like you take two monsters and it'll depend on like what you can get from Toho to do this, but you can have your own movie monsters and you just kind of like have not even a tournament, but it's just like a death battle, or just like you say, okay, here is the stats of this monster, here's the stats of that monster. You have like, one nerd that's guiding us along, and then you also have like the cool host of it that draws people to it.
Me.
Yes. And like
you too.
And then at the end of like 30, yeah, it could be 30 minutes. I think that's suitable. But at the end of 30 minutes, after like you're learning about the different monsters and everything, you just have them battle it out. Now, it'll be kind of tricky just because like in the movies, if you want to do later movies, you don't want to be like, oh, this monster got washed by this monster, so it's not a threat. But I think that would be really cool, something that like if you wanted to just like market it, get people streaming on your service more, to just like do that and release it in a sense. Even though it's weird that Apple did Monarch, but like Max is the company that's owned by Legendaries or Warner Brothers, so I'm a bit confused. But either way, like you could do something like that. I think for me that would be super cool.
Yeah, it would. Also, it just reminded me of another idea. Tournament of Power, but the Monsterverse.
That'd definitely be cool, like a bracket of it. All right, so with that, we are wrapping up just like the intro to the Monsterverse for those that are new to this like monster sphere, or just want kind of a recap of the whole history of Godzilla / Kong as we get into the the new movie that's coming out, we will definitely be reviewing. I'll be honest, there's almost no world where that's going to be less than a B, and it doesn't have to do anything.
Listen, Rose made it an A immediately. It can only go up from here. I just need Rose.
And just like with that, the villain for that, the Scar King, I saw one trailer. Needs the fights from this movie. When we start talking about it, I saw this man get tail whipped.
I did too.
So it's the other monster that they're teasing but haven't shown yet that I'm scared of.
Listen, all I know is from what I've heard about this one, I'm like, it's one of them ones.
They said it's tougher than Ghidorah.
They're saying it's one of them ones. I'm like, no.
So yeah. We'll definitely be there for that. So transitioning on that, we are wrapping up this episode. Recommendations that I have, just essentially any Godzilla movie, but definitely Godzilla -1, Shin Godzilla, and then since obviously the movie that's coming up, if you can just watch anything in the Monsterverse, catch yourself up. I believe it's only 4 to 5 movies, so that's reasonable. You don't have to watch the show Legacy of Monsters on Apple Plus, but if you want to, that'll just kind of keep you up to date with that. So those are my recommendations, Meech.
Mine are all the same things. And if you want to get into like even more content, heck, you got like an entire backlog of eras of Godzilla. If you want to watch like the more goofy Godzilla, go ahead and look at something in kind of like the end of the Showa Era end of the Showa Era. If you want to get more dark and serious, go in the Heisei Era. Even going through to the Millennium Era. If you want to watch anything like anything more modern, again, watch the Legendary Monsterverse. As you mentioned, there's only a few movies with Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla, King of Monsters, and and then Monarch. And of course, like it has a pretty great Godzilla moment in Monarch. I'm not even gonna hold you. I laughed hard on that one. That's my recommendations.
All right, so just with housekeeping, next week we are Godzilla Kong, The New Empire. So that's gonna be our movie review. So let's do our plugs, including TikTok, and get up out of here.
All right, so for our plugs, we have our Instagram, X formerly known as Twitter, and Threads under BlurredCity22. Like, comment, subscribe, and be up to date on all our informations and everything like that. We also have our YouTube and our Patreon under Blurred City Pod. Donate a little cheddar, you get access to very exclusive episodes that may or may not see the light of day. We have our Discord linked in our Instagram page for a fine community of degenerates that we are. And after that, we have ourselves our email address, blurredcity22@gmail.com. Submit geek out freakouts, submit just questions for the podcast, submit just everything under the red sun, even episode suggestions or questions for Q&A sessions. Me personally, I'm the Jedi Ronin on Instagram and on the app that potentially may get taken down. However long we have there, I may continue to still post on there, or I may just quit outright and just transition because it's probably futile at this point. But yeah, that's all I got. What you have?
All right, for my individual author pages, we have my Instagram, Metri_dash, that is METRI_DASH. For my X, we have @themat-16. And then for my book, Phantom Reckoning and Most Regular Tale, you can catch that on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. All right, any words of encouragement? I feel like with this episode, it can go one of two ways.
All right, so for my words of encouragement, right? Listen. There are particular beings out there, and there are people out there that may say that these monster movies, all of these, that's only for Japanese folk. You have no business watching it. How can you understand what you're listening to if it's in Japanese the whole time? Tell them to go touch some grass because you have full reign as an individual to enjoy what you watch. And if you want to watch some monsters go at each other's throats, do it. it doesn't matter if you can like understand them or not, because I can guarantee you this: your parents or whoever you face probably watched Tom and Jerry, and there was no lick of English in that, no lick of language at all in that show. So tell them to go get their hypocritical behinds on somewhere and go touch grass and read a book. And if they tell you to go buy a house, tell them that prices ain't the same as it was back in 1984. You can't get a house for 10K anymore. So yeah, enjoy what you love and be rogue to whoever tells you otherwise.
All right, I think we can leave it there. So, as we say, not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blurred City Podcast.
See ya later.